Hey guys.
Welcome back to Shut the Smut Up. How's it going? We're so weird.
You crack me up.
You're my person. It's fine. I love it.
Anyways, what are we talking about?
Our amazing experience meeting Sarah A. Parker.
Hands fucking down. One of the best, kindest authors you will ever meet. Like chills. Literally just saying that. Hands down.
She's like so soft spoken, but when she like you just listen to her. She just like
energy.
Oh my gosh. And her husband goes on her book tours with her. He's amazing. They were just the nicest. We had such a good experience, and we were so excited to meet them that we didn't even video like our interaction. Like we were just like wanted to be there, be present, like, and we were there a long time.
It was like a 6-hour event. So I don't know. It was either like a 5 or 6 hour event, but it started at 6.
What time did we get out of there? Because we ended up going just to the back of the line because people were like running.
Oh yeah, people were rushing and like huddling about, so they had to like expand it. We stood in line for like 4.5 hours to meet her. Yeah,
and being at the back, like, and usually our other book events, we were usually pretty up like, yeah. So we just never had that experience, but we did really want her to annotate our book. So we were like, It's fine. It'll give us more time. But it was so worth it. It really was so worth it.
We ended up meeting a TikTok friend, McKenna. Yeah. She's from Vegas, and she ended up coming to Utah for some family stuff. And she met us there.
Yeah.
It's such
She's
a great
so
experience.
Fun, like the coolest person, like so chill.
Oh, yeah, very chill, very sweet. And it was just great meeting somebody else that likes things that we like, right? That is from only TikTok.
Yeah, well, McKenna introduced me to Bleed a Crystal Bloom, which isn't traditionally published. It's indie. And I really liked it, and the books just got better. You haven't read those yet?
No, I haven't. I started it, but I wasn't in the mood at the time, so I had just stopped. I do need to go back and try to read them because I really love her writing and When the Moon Hatched, so I think I really like them if I give them a chance.
The world building, just everything about this whole book, and we got a really good video. And it was really nice, and I love that they did this at this event, is that they repeated the questions people were asking. So at the end of this, we're going to include the whole snippet of the whole event.
It is an hour long, so just prepare.
Yeah, fast forwards, go through,
But like she said, they did repeat every question. So Carly even asked a question.
I was so nervous.
I asked a question. McKenna asked a question. So you guys will be able to hear all that. But I just thought it was so. She's just this like this cute like author.
Just petite. And she's so little.
Oh yeah,
so little.
You wouldn't. I mean, you see videos and pictures, but you don't know somebody until you actually see them in person. So all my dogs are everywhere today. It's okay.
So one thing that we really wanted to do, and this was Dallas's idea, is we wanted to have her annotate our books. And so when we got up to our turn, we actually had a few people behind us, and so I kind of told her, I was like, hey, would you mind either mark, like, we had highlighters, like all the things, and I was like, would you mind annotating either something you love or something that's really important? And she goes, okay, I'm really a perfectionist, so would you mind just like waiting? And we were like, oh, 100%. There was like 4 people behind us, so we were like, for sure. And we got so much extra time with her, which one was
we got like
way worth it.
We almost got like 30 minutes to like almost an hour extra time with her because she took the time to dedicate like dedications and like highlighting and doing like swirls and everything, which you guys will end up seeing pictures of.
Yeah, so we took some pictures, and so I'll put them up. So we have a picture of mine, Dallas's, and McKenna's. So,
and all of them are different. So it's a snippet of what she thinks that we need to know for the next book.
Yeah. So she like drew these little pictures in it, like amazing. And then what does her husband do?
So her husband is probably the sweetest guy
So
to go
nice.
on tour with her and support her like this. He literally, she has her own stamp, right? That says Sarah A. Parker. And in the middle, it's got a circle, and she can go in there and sign it. Well, he is stamping each book, and making sure it's perfectly aligned, and then going to make sure it's dry.
I'm sure everybody has seen like the videos on TikTok, because I was dying. There was like a panel at that Books, Gowns, and Crowns, and Bailey was saying how that he's all girls' boyfriends now, so everybody just loves him because he's like a golden retriever.
Correct. Yeah, and I actually, while they were getting McKenna and Carly were getting their books annotated, I actually talked to him, and we talked about skiing here in Utah because they're wanting to come back to Utah to go skiing and snowboarding. So
it was just like such a cool, like, they're so down to earth, and I love people like that. I'm so sad. She took a picture, so I made me and Dallas t-shirts, and I'll have to put like snippets of like what the backs and everything look like because they're amazing. She took a picture and I didn't get the picture. I didn't get it. I was gonna ask her to either send it or just like airdrop it, so that, because I didn't want to make her like uncomfortable. So I was like, hey, send this to me. You know what I mean? And I forgot. So I was like, no. So
Sarah, I'm hitting you up for that picture. I'm going to. I really am now.
Yeah. So I'm like, maybe you need to like message her on Instagram and be like, hey, So
I met you in Salt Lake, right? And you took pictures of our shirts.
Because I think you can send pictures on Instagram.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. It just was like such an amazing experience. Like I said, we'll like snip everything. Do you want to show the stamp?
Oh, yeah. So I can definitely show you the stamp.
Amazing. I just was like, thought that this was such a unique thing. Like, just so unique.
So this is her stamp. Like I said, it says Sarah A. Parker, and then she just signs inside of it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and then I actually ended up, this is my Fairy Loot edition, and I ended up having her actually personalize this edition because it's my most favorite one. And then I think we all actually had her annotate our paperbacks.
Correct, yeah.
And then I just had, this was the book that we actually got there.
The tour edition.
Yeah. So if you want to see all of the stuff, like I said, stay tuned. If you need to fast forward a little bit, feel free to do that. But it was amazing. I hope you guys enjoy it. We had so much fun.
For sure.
Yes. So be sure to like and subscribe if you like more of these like meet and greet type content. Let us know, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
We're gonna keep on making them. So.
Yeah. Well, anyways, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, I waved way too soon. Oh my god.
We're a mess. We're just excited. I got excited all over again.
I know.
It's fine.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
My name is Alexis on behalf of the booksellers at the King's English Bookshop and Brain Food Books. Welcome to tonight's event. The King's English Bookshop has been on the corner of 15th South and 15th East for 47 years, matching books to readers. We're so thrilled to have not one, but two dragon romantasy authors with us tonight. People who read romantic fantasy are some of the best crowd, and we're so grateful for your loyalty. Brain Food Books, the official nonprofit of the King's English Bookshop, is grateful to you for assisting in fulfilling its mission to get books into the hands of those without regular access. A portion of all books purchased tonight goes to supporting Brain Food Books, and 100% of donations go to getting books into the hands of kids who need them. Please take a moment to silence your cell phones, but we know your phone is also your camera. So please feel free to take pictures and post them online and tag the bookshop and the authors. For the signing line afterwards, our authors are also okay taking pictures. They will personalize one book and sign however many you desire. Now it is my honor to introduce our authors. Born in New Zealand, Sarah A. Parker now lives on the Gold Coast with her husband and 3 young children. When she's not reading or tapping away on her keyboard, she's spending time with her friends and family, her plants, and enjoying trips to the snow. Sarah has been writing since she was small, but has only recently begun sharing her stories with the world. Sophie Jordan grew up in Texas Hill Country, where she wove fantasies of dragons, warriors, and princesses. A former high school English teacher, she's also the New York Times and USA Today's best-selling author of Avon historical romances. She now lives in Houston with her family. When she she's not writing, she spends her time overloading on caffeine, lattes and Diet Cherry Coke preferred, talking plot lines with anyone who will listen, including her children, and screaming anything with a happily ever after. Sophie also writes paranormal romances under the name Shara Kohler. Sorry. Please welcome our authors.
It's like getting nervous. Say things that aren't okay to be said in church. Hi everyone, I'm Sophie Jordan. So, thanks for coming. I feel like Sarah and I had a dry run with this before, so we're going to be especially good tonight.
Oh yeah,
Better.
same with.
I began when we talked last time by asking for a raise of hands, at least for Sarah's book, who's read it already.
And it's okay with spoilers.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's it. Wait, to be more specific, who has not read it? Okay, sorry. There will probably be spoilers, because even if we avoid them, there will be questions. I feel like just brace yourself a little.
We'll pre-warn though. If I'm going to say something spoilery, I'll try to be very, very careful with my words.
Just like you, spoilers for you,
Yeah.
something inappropriate for me. You're allowed. I'll warn. I thought we should just talk about our books and start at the beginning. Like, we're here, we both have written a dragon book. In short, to encapsulate it. So why don't we begin with, like, how did it start? What's your origin? Like, how did you come up with that idea?
So, Full Moon, actually, the funny thing is, I was supposed to be writing the fourth book of my Crystal Bloom series, but I had this idea of a story that had been sitting with me for the past 3 years. So, it had been my guilty pleasure. I had been taking moments to dive into the world of the streets and to slowly build it out, and it was an idea that came to me very much like being struck. And so I saw the world first and the Dragon Moon. So I knew what I was working with, and I knew that it was very, very special. And I knew I just needed to take my time with it. So I did actually try and write the story 2 times prior, just while also working on other books. And it didn't work out either of those times. But then when I did start writing it for the 3rd and final time, it was screaming at me. And I just got absolutely so lost in the story. It took me 6 weeks to get the first draft down, so it just flew out of me. But I had spent prior to that again 3 years in the world, building it up, getting to know the characters, getting to know the creatures, and I guess when the time came, it just, I just listened to that scream, I guess.
Well, I'm not going to get mad about the 6 weeks, because you said it took 3 years for you to, for it to literally come on. The 6 weeks, wow.
No, I've never written that fast. I don't know how it happened. I had a little piece of paper beside me with my chapter numbers. I knew how many chapters I was writing because I planned things out immensely beforehand. I planned out my dialogue, I planned out my cues. I'm running along, a very big schedule. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to try and do 2 chapters a day, just rough drafts. And I'd get my little ticks each day. And before I knew it, it was done. And I couldn't believe it. And now I looked at the size of the thing and I was like, wow. This is huge.
Wow. Good. Well, my idea started a long time ago when I was 12 years old. I wrote a young adult series called Firelight that is about their dragon shippers and young adult. So I thought that we're living in a real moment for dragons, and I had a conversation. My editor suggested, she was like, hey, you wrote some dragon books when you were 12, and I said, yes, I did. And she's like, have you ever thought about writing them in adult? And I was like, wow, I could write something in maybe a similar world or an adjacent world, and it would not be YA. And that really excited me. I was so excited about it. And I had ideas that were there because I really, Fire in the Sky sort of serves as the origin story for those books. So you don't have to have read my YA trilogy. can, but you don't need to. And then A Fire in the Sky is the origin story.
And can I just say, you write spies impeccably. I'm reading it at the moment, I'm almost at the end. We got home from an event a couple of nights ago at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I sat down and I read for an hour, and I just couldn't put it down. So, I mean, it's phenomenal.
Thank you so much. I know you've been writing on fumes, so that means a lot that I, helped fuel you. So no, it's just, my book is real kind of medievally, that's a word, right, in vibes, and it's about a royal whipping girl who takes the punishments for the royal princesses, and she tricks the warrior that comes down to claim a royal princess for his wife, and she marries him instead. And there's something about her, and there's something about him. There you go. I could go on this. Let's talk about book 2.
Yes.
You said something really fascinating that I have not stopped thinking about since we last talked in New York.
What was it?
You're like, I said a lot of things. I'm like, I was like, do you know what you said? Book 1 and book 2. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. What book 1, hold it up, somebody. I mean, it's a meaty.
See what these book, here we go.
Right? That is a meaty book. And did you plan to end it there?
No. So book 1 was originally just the first half of book 1.
Let that sink in.
Yeah. I realized pretty early on that this was going to not work. And you can imagine that stacked on top of that again, and that would be the size of the entire book. So with that realization quite early, I said to myself, alright, I need to carve out the first arc, and then this second arc needs to be So, which the fantastic thing is, this in book 2 is a lot of the stuff that I've been working towards in book 1. There's a lot of these big moments that I've been planning towards and been looking forward to writing so much. And I'm there now, and it's just been fantastic. So, yeah, it was originally the second half of book 1.
It's really exciting when you can do that, because when you're writing an ongoing series, sometimes you think you're going to end at a certain point, and you're like, no, that'll be a turn, that's how I'm going to end, and then it ends up, you end at a different turning point. That still works.
Yeah, and the funny thing is as well, I realised that I needed to do that. First I was heartbroken because I wanted to get to these big moments at the end of book 1. But then I realised that actually to have these moments have impact, the reader needed to follow through those diary entries and to understand, the things that they bring about, that we realise through reading those diary entries. For everything in book 2 to actually impact and to have. So it actually worked out for the better. And when I settled myself into that realisation that I was not going to fit this, and the writing was going to be so small no one could read it, I really just embraced that idea, and I was like, oh, this just needs to be.
And you mentioned a little bit about, the spice, but that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the romance. But in this case, let's talk about the romance. In the spiciness, the subject of spice comes up, that's okay. You really wrote a beautiful love story here, the romance. What is the inspiration behind that?
I love romance. I just love romance. I very much listen to my characters as I'm writing. Like, I don't force head on page. Everything I write in regards to that whole romance thing, I like it to be an extension of the growing relationship. So at times I have had a spicy scene planned in my pre-plan, and I might get to that moment and it's like, no, that's not working. So I won't force it, and then I'll just listen to my characters. And also there's been times where they've told me that they want a spicy scene in there. And for those who have read it, there's a particular scene, which is sitting on the table, and I won't say any more. That wasn't originally there. And I got there and I was like, this needs to happen.
very demanding.
They do. But I just, it's interesting because Raven is such a, I guess, this she's a hard character. She's got a lot going on that she's ignoring. And then Khan has just got this big, soft, warm heart for her. And when they collide on page, that very first moment he walked in and I had her there, I was just like, yes. I think this is why this story came out of me so fast, because I just could not get away from them. Like, their romance just built itself. I was very much along for the ride as much as everybody else. Like, a lot of the scenes that I played, they took their own different shape. As I went in and actually started fleshing things out, they took me on their own journey. So I just love being on page with them both.
It sounds like you knew there was something special about the book when you were writing it. And this wasn't the debut. You do know sometimes, when you sit down and you start writing a book, and it just is writing itself, which is such an annoying phrase, I know, because it's hard work, but you can still love it.
I think, so, again, I was writing my series first, and then took the brief with this story, but I really felt like, in a way, like I lost somebody very dear to me a number of years, about 3 or 4 years ago now, and that's my nana, and she had a huge influence on me on her way in today. She introduced me to the world of folklore and fantasy and dragons and fairies and just everything, and I very much found myself writing fantasy and I think when I was writing this story, I felt like it was almost, with those dragons soaring up in the sky and curling up into wars and becoming moons, and look up in the sky and see that which is past. It really did feel like a lovely little area, and I was just the grief that I've been battling with every day since losing her. I think some people just leave this beautiful mark on you, and I felt very much like me getting down the story. When I got to the end, I actually broke down, and I think part of it was because I knew that she was going to be able to read the story, and that just felt so painful for me. But I think she was with you. I think she was.
Right, that's right.
Yeah, and so I think as well, me sitting down afterwards, I knew that the story was an infant, and I think I felt in my heart that other people were going to enjoy it as well, and it just broke my heart that she wasn't going to be there, that I to be able to read it But I think sometimes you do just know, and I think that's why I sat with the story for so long and with the world and really fleshed it out myself and just gave it that time to breathe before I finally sat down and looked into existence. Sometimes you just
Well, how many books are you thinking? We know there's a book 2.
Yes.
And what can you say?
I can say that when I went in after finishing book 1, I went through my plan for book 2, and I made sure that I was pulling certain things in from book 3 as well, so that I know that the plot is moving along fast enough for me to be able to finish the 3 books. So it will be a trilogy. 3 books!
There's something really nice and a circle of 3.
And I think it's poetic for the series as well, because there's 3 different characters. There's 3 different territories.
Right.
There's so much, I think, poetry there. So that feels right.
Well, mine is 2. Sorry. Maybe some of my 3s. So far. We'll see. Okay, we kind of talked about writing process a lot. Do we have people in the room? Even if you're not an aspiring writer or writer yourself, I feel like a lot of writers are always interested in that process. And I know you gave us a little bit of how you had so much of the world planned and then you wrote it in 6 weeks. But that's not everybody. Like, what do you do? What is your day? What does a day look like for you?
So I rise from my bed, and usually dressed in my husband's pajamas, and I spend big times just not leaving the house. Like you would look at me and you would not recognize me. That's my hair. I'm fully well. But okay, so my process is I So quite often I won't start until I can see the end of the entire series, but also that book that I'm working on. I will not put pen to paper until I can see exactly where I'm going to. So I sit down and I will make out dialogue for the entire story. And again, I'm open to shifting that and changing that, but I will jot that down. So I start with like a 35 or 40,000 word document.
Almost feels like a script.
It is, yes, it very much is. And I've got cues of what's happening, but I just bang that out very, very quick, and I get that down. Like once I've seen it in my head and ran through it in my head, I bang it down, and then I'm like, alright, I'm going to go. I separate it into chapters, and then I will split apart, that into 2 chapters a day. I'm going, and I don't hold myself accountable. I try to do that, but if I don't hit it, then it's okay. It's all good. We'll have on days and off days. So I'll go through and I'll write my first draft. It's usually very rough. I don't usually let anyone see my first drafts, although I have this with book 2. I've got somebody in there at the moment going through with me. But then I'll go back to the end, and as I'm writing, I'll put down lots and lots of notes of things that I want to change in prior chapters. If things will come to me and blow me off, and I'll realize things that need to change for me to hit what I'm hitting. And so I'll put down notes, I don't go back. I just keep moving forward. I chug, get to the end, and then I look through the whole, and then I go through and I put that magic in there. It's when you're doing it, even that really sticky day, and it's the emotions that with me as well, because I try not to go too deep on the emotions on first week, because otherwise things change. I might delete a whole chapter, and I don't want to, if I've gone too deep, then I feel heartbroken losing those things. So
I feel like you really have to forgive yourself when you're writing the first draft. Like, it's a mess.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, here's the bones of the book.
Yeah,
And I often don't layer in that emotion until the second pass also.
so what's your process? I'd love to
I mean, a
know.
lot like that. I get the bones out, but I will tell you, do you do this? I layer, the first 100 pages are the worst.
Oh,
I go over the first 100 pages. I spend more time on the first 100 pages than the rest of the book. I guess it's that time when you're really figuring things out.
yeah, no, I completely, that resonates with me very, very well.
I just wish I could write. It seems like, without fail, I will spend the 80% of my time on the first 100 pages, and the rest I just whip through it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me as well. I've taught myself now to just keep chugging along.
See, I need to do that. I need that discipline.
It's like, it's at least I'm just not looking in that corner. I'm just going forward, and then go back, and actually at the end, I just, alright, okay, now I can see what I've mucked up.
I love the clarity that is finally there when you're toward the end of the manuscript, toward the end of the book. I'm always like, where was this clarity at the beginning? I just wish I had it all figured out by the time.
It's a journey. It's a journey.
It is. I know, and I mean, I usually plan a twist or two, but then there's a couple that happen at the end that I had no idea were coming either.
No, it was the same with me. So when I was writing book 1, we went somewhere specific in the story, and I wasn't intending to go there until later in the series.
Right.
So that very much took me by storm, and I just had to follow the carrot. I was like, alright, well, then we're doing this. And of course, that made the story a lot bigger. Which was some of the reasons why I realised I wasn't going to fit it, but it needed to happen, and it needed to happen then. And I didn't realise that until after I finished writing it, and I was like, that's why they took me in that direction. So
It's an instinct.
yeah, it is, and it's very much about listening to that instinctive thing. The times when I have it, and the times when I try to force something, and it just doesn't work. It's just always end up biting me in the bum.
I think we should do this question.
That's a good idea.
I mean, y'all have questions? Or anybody?
What's your favorite creature be great in the world? Because you have a lot of different tertiary creatures, not like the dragons, we have a lot of very good tertiary creatures in Super Mario, and what's your favorite one game right now?
Is this not counting the parchment masks? Because if it is, then it's there. But not counting the parchment masks, because Nia's in my heart. The Miskins. I love Lumo. She sort of popped into my head so beautifully, and I just love writing her. So
question when they asked?
Sure, I will repeat the question. Did you hear her answer though? The question was, like what creatures other than the dragons does she, favor? What are your favorite in her books?
Thank you.
I'll repeat for now. Yes, right here. Yes.
Are there two entities or
Are there two entities or voices inside of Rave's head? I mean, if you...
You're going to learn all about the other and not to read.
What happens if them two? That's the next question. Right in the back. Yeah, the camera's right behind you, yes.
I just want to know how, what is your mindset when you write torture?
What is your mindset when you write about
Torture.
Look, this is probably damning on me, but I write those things very, very easily.
She has kids.
No, I don't know. I'm certainly not sitting there laughing. I think that's a good thing. But it sort of just comes to me. I can dig into those sort of deeper, darker, quite easily, and yeah. I feel like I wish I wasn't saying this in a church.
Right here.
Don't know if you can answer, but thoughts on a prequel with the God?
Any thoughts on a prequel with gods?
So there is a lot of space in this world for me to write more stories prior and after. So yeah, possibly. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to take one further in the back there. Project, please, because I may not hear you that well. Yes.
Do you know you'll be on tour again in Utah for your next books?
So the question was, do I know if I'll be on tour again in Utah with my next book? So hopefully, I would love to come back. I feel like we only got in this morning, and I just love it here. We're leaving tomorrow, and I wish I was going to be here for a couple of weeks. It's just beautiful. So I would love to come back. We're also planning to come back for a snowboarding trip at some stage. So yeah, fingers crossed.
Yes.
Right.
This isn't my job, moving back. But when is the next Lady Crystal Bloom's book coming? Because I'm dying.
So the question was, when is the next Lady Crystal Bloom story coming? So I'm because that's indie published, and then my other series is Straight Up. I'm on kind of different schedules for them. So I'm almost finished with the second book in Movable right now. I was supposed to finish before we came away, but I didn't like it there. After that hands off to my publishers, I'll be moving back into the book 4 on Crystal Bloom, and that will probably publish first before the second book in the Movable series, because once it's done, I just publish Straight Up. So yeah, fingers crossed.
There's a question right there.
Yeah, so one of the things that I connect with Rave the most is that she, without giving anything away, is an older female main character, and in this realm, we see a lot of younger female main characters. Was that intentional, or did she come about that way as you were writing?
So the question was, Rave is a bit older, and Hedwig obviously there's quite a lot of younger female main characters in books these days. And was that intentional? Yes, it very much was. I'm political. I've got 3 kids. I love reading about characters that have seen life, that have been through things, and that sort of have experience there. So I was immediately drawn to her, and I feel like she's the easiest character I've ever written. So yeah, very intentional.
Right here. Yes.
Just making sure. Going back to Blue, you're the queen of breadcrumbs and leaving us hanging, which is amazing. But what kind of inspired you for that series? Because it's so unique.
So the question was, so we're talking about my Crystal Bloom series and how I do a little bit of breadcrumbs, which I do. For those who have read any of my books know that there are a lot of Easter eggs and plenty that will come to light as more books are published. If you had to reread, believe people like a Christmas tree. The question was, what inspired me with that story? So the first chapter in To Be Mr. Bloom actually came to me in a dream, and I know that sounds very strange, but I was there, I was in it. And was that a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I was.
Yes, cool. So I spent 2 days mapping out the story because it struck me so heavily, and I just knew it needed to be told. And the story just bloomed, literally. So I've known where the story is going to end since that, those first 2 days post to that.
Was it the prologue was your dream? Or
Prologue.
Oh, that's amazing.
Just going back to writing process stuff, do you have a preference between working with like a traditional publisher versus indie publishing? I guess we started as an indie book writing and got picked up. So what's that difference like?
So the question was, have I got a preference between publishing indie or publishing trade pub? And just what the difference is. So I never really set out to be traditionally published. I set out to see if anyone likes my stories. And so when I first, started publishing, it was just to see if people wanted to read me and if people were interested in hearing what I had to say. So there is a lot of, I've got a lot of control when I'm into publishing, but I'm also wearing a lot of different hats. I'm marketing, I'm doing the formatting myself, literally. And Moon, all the images throughout, all the top ones, the headers were done by Alice. But the signs and stuff, and the bits and pieces, the little me and everything like that was all done by me. So I spent about 3 weeks doing that after I finished writing the story. So I just love creating. So for me, indie publishing, it was rich with that. I got to really just stretch those muscles in so many different ways. I did realise as soon as I published Moon that immediately I knew it was going to be too big for me to handle. It was being plagiarised immediately, and I was already getting warnings from Amazon that they were going to cancel my account and this, that, the other. So I just knew I needed extra help, I guess. And I was nervous, to be honest, because this is a whole new journey for me. But I did say to my agent, look, I will only go down this route with it if the publishers have got the same passion and behind the story as I do, and then we can work with it through it together. And I was very lucky. I found publishers immediately that I felt their vibe with, and that I just knew that we were on the same page. And it's been a marvelous experience for me, and I just know that the story is in my hands, and we're looking things to that very same goal. So, yeah.
Way back there.
What do you do to get past writer's block?
What do I do to get past writer's block? That's a good question. So I sit in the shower. I've trained my brain to be able to click into gear the moment I turn on the shower head. And I know it sounds weird, but it just works. Either that, or I'll actually go back and I will reread a chapter that I've written in the story that really hit me. And that kind of, it could be a linchpin chapter that just reminds me of the story, why I'm doing this. And it will always reflare my imagination and I'll be off again. So definitely, and it might not just be one, I might go back and I might reread from the start, because when we're writing, it's very easy to, I guess, lose touch and sort of go, is this story okay? Is this horrible? What am I doing?
The longer you're in the story, the harder it is. You're just too in it. You can't see. I feel like.
100%.
One thing that I sometimes do that some writers are like, oh, I tried that. It's great. Other writers are like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. If I'm stuck like for a few days, like it feels like it's really clinging, and I'm like, I gotta do something. I'll jump ahead. I'll write that scene that has been the carrot dangling out there that I've been wanting to write. Sometimes it's the scene that inspired the whole book. And I forgive myself for jumping out of order, jumping out of sequence. And I just do it. And I I think if it's the scene that's been tantalizing you and you go ahead and write it, it's usually pretty powerful when you write it, even if it's out of sequence, like, because, you know, it's like going cinematically in your head, it's a movie, just get in there and write it, and then you'll go back and you'll fill in the blanks and lead up to it. It's just a trick.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, and on that same note, actually, something that I sometimes do as well is if I've got lots of POVs, I will jump to somebody else's POV, and it might be a completely different story. You know, it won't be in, you know, it'll be something that's somewhere completely different, and I will follow them through, and then come back and right off the bat journey back into gear, I guess.
Next question, right there. Well, I was both of you. You can go first, then you. Right. Go ahead.
Was there a part of the story that's harder for you to get, like, from your brain onto the viewer?
So the question was there any part of the story that was harder for me to get on paper than others? Yes, it was. So I've done a similar sort of vein that we were talking before. The starts, I mean, I've been in this world of my head for years now. So there's this, I guess, this urge to be like, here it is all, you know, just pack it in there. And then you forget that the reader needs to communicate, needs to understand the main character, needs to hear themselves. And so, you know, it's very easy to info dump at the start. So, you know, you get that info dumping done in your first draft, and then you go back and you go, all right, now I need to rip this to shreds. and I need to make this, you know, easy to understand. And remembering that as well, the reader doesn't need everything all at once. You know, like, we can hear that back and we can, you know, and it's really hard to find that balance. And I'm constantly trying to learn to find that balance because it's, you know, again, big worlds.
It's hard to decide what backstory, what you can feed in, and what you don't need at all. I will say, because, I mean, do you see yourself, right? It's like a movie playing in your head, right? So when you sit down to write it, it's multi-dimensional in your head, and then when you're putting it on paper, you're like, well, that's not at all. Like, it's like, it can come out a little, you know, kind of flat sometimes, because you're, maybe instead of all senses, you're conveying just a few, and you just have to, you know, forgive yourself, get the first draft out, and then come back to it.
Yeah, but it's definitely the start. I rewrote that a few times. Sorry. That was hard. But this is not included in the prologue. That was pretty much my first draft, the one that we could write.
Sorry, character really resonated with me. In the second book, can we expect a new character POVs?
So the question was Zaria's character really resonated with us, and the wish was will we expect POVs and new points of view in the second book? Yes.
Yay!
You might have been here, Zaria. Yeah.
One question about the writer's process. Will your writer make this illustration a part of yourself with your character? You can identify with it. And the second question is, when you're writing, how do you keep yourself from being lost in the process? So that when you walk away from the and you're too to action, how do you not lose?
So the first question was, do I put parts of myself into any of my characters? I think we kind of do it without even realizing. I know with Ray, so I deal with emotions much in the same way that she does. I kind of, if something traumatic has happened in my life, I just stuff it down and I don't know it. I literally forget the entire day conversation. If you ask me to tell you how I'm nice with me, I don't know. It's gone, you know. So I just move along, and then if I do need to go down deep into emotions, it is quite painful. Like I'm falling, you know, I'm just a mess. So it's like cracking beneath that lake, and you know, there's all sorts down there. So definitely yes. It's not necessarily purposeful, but that's just the way that she came out. And I think that's the reason why I just write it so easily. And sorry, I think part of the question.
When you're in the writing process, when you separate from your writing, getting into the day, and you have to separate your take to see the back of the beginning.
So during my writing process, if I step away from a story, a day or two, how do I keep myself from getting lost? You know, the funny thing is, I think when I step away, sometimes I have more clarity, and I come back and I'm like, oh, okay, like things spoken to me in that time when I've been away, and sometimes you actually need that brief. So I used to be really hard on myself if I had days where I didn't write. Now I'm like, well, that's what I was asked, that's what I needed, and I just couldn't see it. And the funny thing is, I write better and faster this way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like a breath of the soul.
I think so much of writing happens when you're not writing at all. It's that period where, I walk around in a fog and it says something and I'm not listening at all.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I was fighting. It really is like that moment when you're plotting, you're daydreaming. Daydreaming is like a writer's best friend.
Oh, yes, that's my favorite thing to do. I'm never in this world, I'm always elsewhere.
When I get my revision letter from my editor, she's like, and I'll see you in 6 weeks. A week goes by, I haven't even tackled it yet. And then another week, because I'm just sitting with it, and I'm thinking, and I'm plotting, and maybe jotting down notes. I have notes everywhere, like in the notes section on my phone.
Yeah, me too.
In a journal, and then it's where are they all? Daydreaming, don't think you're not working. It is work.
I think it's the most important part, really. I think the reason why I came out in quickly, I think I spent 3.5 years daydreaming.
Is there any other genre that you see yourself writing in or that you want to try to jump into other than fantasy?
So I've got drafts of a dark contemporary romance that's actually the book's completely finished, but I just haven't gone through and done my second swing on it. I love writing rom-coms as well, and so it's sort of like fantasy, romance, rather than the dark stuff. But I haven't sort of put them out well because I've always been in a situation where I've written the first draft and then I've had these sort of, these deeper figure worlds pulling me. But I love writing those, and maybe one day they will end up on the shelves. We'll see.
Yeah. Okay. How do you come up with just with To Bleed Crystal Bloom and When the Moon Hatched? How do you come up with the different mythical creatures and what you want to put in each book?
So the question was, how do I come up with the different creatures from my different stories? So I think each world kind of has a flavour, and I think the creatures from this world wouldn't necessarily fit in the creatures from this world. So I'm seeing them as a little this world. They just step out of the blue, and so I think again, there's no way that a Miskin would end up in the Crystal Bloom world, but there's house sprites, they fit in there very well, and the parchment marks wouldn't fit there either. So you know what I mean? I feel like that flavour just inspires the imagination, and then I just see them. I don't know, they're really just crowd out.
Yes.
How do you balance motherhood and writing?
How do you balance motherhood and writing?
Not very well for a while there. So up until a year ago, I was a primary caregiver as well of those children, and Josh was working very, very long hours. He was off at 4 in the morning and he's working in the city, and then he'd be back at 7 o'clock at night. So it was full on. I was spending 17 plus hours a day working. I was working through the nights. I was living on the couch basically. It's a dent there that is never my I was sculling that coffee by the can, just drinking it straight from the straw, so that it would just, I didn't have to taste it because it was very flat and very, very bitter. And it was hard. It was hard. I definitely felt like I wasn't the best version of myself during that time, and which was one of the reasons why Josh was like, I'm going to come up with help. Because I just, by stretching myself so thin, I was giving bits of myself to my work, my head, and to me it wasn't good enough. So now I've got a fantastic balance. I'm with kids in the morning, in the afternoon, so I'm finished writing. So we go and walk the dog together, and we do fun things together on the weekend. We go to the beach and have fun. I cook dinner, we're baking together and stuff. So we're back to that really good goodbye, but yeah, so I'm sort of having the same hours that they've got at school as well. But it's hard, it's really, really hard, and again, for a while there, I didn't have that good balance. So I had to find the time to write when they didn't need me, and they needed me quite a lot, so I just had to make extra hours, so I was not functioning on very much sleep. So yeah, it's a balance, but yeah, it's a very much it's hard.
Yeah, support network is really important here. I don't know. I think it's a struggle if you don't have the support network. When I sold my first book when my daughter was 3, and then I still had my son later. Like I was writing through pregnancy. I had a deadline I had to do a month after I gave birth with my son. And I had a support network. But I think you do figure out a balance. I do think that it's a different job, right? Like you're not 9 to 5. You don't come home. So like overnights, right? I put the kids to bed and I go to work, and just did what I had to do. But I tried to balance it out. Like maybe it's rough right around a deadline, but later it will lift and go do things and make it up to them. But I will say one thing. One writer told me when I was first starting out, because I think I struggled a little bit to that, like all the time away from them. That I think we as women, as mothers, feel like we have to be there for them all the time. She told me that the greatest gift you're ever going to give your kids is that they see you following your passions and doing something for yourself, and they will remember that. And I think it's true. Now my kids are older, I think it's true.
That's very all that.
Me?
Yes.
So if you had to, I haven't read your Bloom series, but if you had to choose the main male character or Khan from When the Moon Hatched, who would you choose and why?
That's me. It's me. No, I honestly can't even care. It's like a coin. I think they both beat me at different times, and they both sort of expressed different moments in my life, and I couldn't. I'm sorry. I wish I could that's cool.
Yes.
So kind of along those lines, do you have time to read other fantasy series? And if you do, like, I have friends with Raven Kennedy. So when you're transported into those fantasy worlds, does that throw off your vision, or does it mellow your thoughts for your stories?
So the question was, do I have time to read other fantasy stories? And if I do, while I'm writing, does that throw me off? So the answer is, it does throw me off. So while I'm writing, I will be to read for other people. My close friends put a lot of work this through for us, including me. And we do be to read for each other, but apart from that, I don't usually pick up other books unless I am, for instance, on tour. And not actually writing at the time, because it muddles me. It makes it, it pushes you out of your world. And I like to be as much in my world as I can. So I've got a stack of books up on my TBR is a mile high. I've been writing books since before Polygon, so you can imagine there's been so many releases this year, and I'm drowning in books that I want to read. So but I've just got to be very careful with myself when I do read. As you would know from what I said earlier, I read when I've had no sleep in the past week, and I will not, I will just go. So once I start going, I can read up to 9 books a week, and that's not much when I'm trying to write a story. So yeah, I've got to really pull myself back, but I do read, so yeah, I can.
This isn't a me problem, but I have heard that some may be thrown off by the side glossary. So what would you say to people to kind of convince them that you just need to get past it?
So the question was, so some people can be thrown off by the glossary at Moon, because it is dense, it's like 20 pages, I think. But what would be my advice was the question. So when I had beta readers going through Moon, I had half of them read the glossary and I had half of them not, just to make sure that it was still understandable without reading the glossary. So it's not, you don't have to read it. I don't sort of, I do give explanations to the different characters, and I do as I'm going, full, not really put down on the page, in book so that we stay on focus with character. But it's definitely not necessary reading, I would say anyway. But also, it was interesting because with UK and Commonwealth, they got the glossary in the back when they published the traditional version. Whereas in the US and Canada, they kept it at the front. Just to kind of test, I guess, to see, test their theory. If you are going to read it, actually it doesn't matter because here in the US it's at the front. But for those in the UK that went back and they read it before they read the story, they would also sometimes see the family tree, which is in the back. And that was the reason why I went at the front, because I didn't want people to see the family tree and the whole story come onto them. But it's not necessarily reading, just dive straight in, find a level, hopefully.
Well, I'll take one more question.
In the black sweater, yes, I think, yes, you. I'm sorry.
How many books do you have planned for your Crystal Blue series?
How many books do I have planned for my Crystal Bloom series? So I'm planning another 2 for it. I think I can get to the end of the story in 2 more. We'll have to wait and see though. If more is speaking to me, if I'm not getting there, then I will, if I get it on faster, then I will say, I think I do get on plan another 2, but they'll be these books, they'll be mid-sized books.
Sorry we didn't get to everybody's questions, but maybe they can.
Yes, if you've got a question, think on it when you come to me, you can ask one on time.